dry fire training is something that costs you nothing at all if you already own the pistol, obviously. You can work on it just for a few minutes, a few times a week, and you can really, really up your game. You can really improve your marksmanship, and it costs you no money whatsoever. Ammo is expensive, right? And it's hard to find sometimes. And not all of us have the budget just to go out there and blow through hundreds of rounds of ammunition to get better at shooting. I know, for example, my marksmanship has improved drastically, and I've done 0 live fire rounds in between big training days, basically. So I'll train dry fire for 3-4 months, no live ammo whatsoever, and then I'll go out on the range, and it is incredible how much improvements I have made just from dry fire. My son is 11 years old, and he has never fired a handgun. He had never fired a handgun for real, never live fire ever. But we've been working on dry fire. Not even that much, just a few sessions really. And he was able to go out there and ring steel on the very first day, never have fired a live round before, and that's pretty impressive. And that just proved to me how valid the dry fire training is. So this drill was taught to me by somebody that has a lot of experience overseas in combat situations, and this is the dry fire training that he was taught and the dry fire training that he utilized to improve his marksmanship. So, you know, I'm no expert, so I take what I've learned from people that are a lot smarter than me, a lot more gifted than I am in these areas, and I just use them. So what I'll do is I'll get a good fighting stance. I'll clear my shirt out of the way. I'll get a good solid purchase on the pistol, and I will draw, keeping it close to my body. And once I get my front sight in view, I drive it towards my target, keeping that front sight and my target in view. I'll drive it, and once I've got both sights aligned, finger goes on to the trigger, and I slowly squeeze. And the goal of that is to, while I pull the trigger, I don't want the pistol to move. I don't want to see any movement at all of my sights when that thing goes click. And then after that, what I typically do is I'll simulate some malfunctions. It went click, but it didn't go bang. And what does that mean? That means I need to take my finger out of the trigger, away from the trigger. I'll need to tap. I'll need to rack. And then back to the trigger, squeeze. And now I'm simulating running out of ammunition. I've got a mushy trigger, nothing's happening. I've noticed that the slide is locked to the rear. I've still got my eyes on my target. I'm going to eject spent magazine, reach for the other one that's also empty. I'm going to insert it into the mag welt, but at the last second, I've still got my eyes on the target, but at the last second, I'm going to look at my magazine, and I'm going to make sure it's where it needs to be before I drive it home. Eyes back on my target, and then front sight, driving towards my target again, aligning my sights, and then I'm going to pretend that it goes bang. I realized upon review of the footage that I made a slight error. I talked too much and got distracted. Right here, after I have driven the magazine home and reinserted a new magazine, I either need to hit the slide release or I need to go over the top. Generally speaking, I just go over the top. If you had a full magazine, the slide would go forward, and then I will get my eyes on the front side again, drive it forward, and bang. And that's the drill that I practice the most, and it has really, really helped me a lot. And then beyond that, I'll do that a few times a week. I'll do it Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays after my workouts. And I'll do that a few times, and then I'll just work on just regular dry fire. Just aligning my sights and slowly squeezing the trigger, assuring that the sights aren't moving when it clicks. That's the goal. And I pick a really small target. I'm looking at that tiny bolt, a tiny screw holding the guy, the center mass on the guy on top of my logo. Aligning my sights, slowly squeezing trigger. Sights aren't moving when that happens. And I'll practice that with both hands, left and right-handed, two-handed with left and right-handed, strong side, weak side. I'll work on doing it single-handedly with both hands. I'm also working the operations of the pistol with both hands. So I'm left-handed, so right-handed is the weak side, but fortunately, firearms are made for right-handed people for the most part. So it's really easy for me to do it with my right hand. And obviously I've gotten really good doing it with my left hand because I've had to adapt. So I'll work operations, normal operations of the pistol with both hands. That includes changing the mags. That includes, let's say, injured hand, I've only got one. That includes racking the pistol on my pocket like that with both hands. Or my belt, whatever it catches on, doesn't really matter. All I do is I jam this thing into my side and I ensure the barrel's pointed in a safe direction. I kind of kick my hips out to the side and I can rack that on my pocket. That's usually where it catches, or it catches on my belt. If you push really hard against you, it's easy to do. TJ from Bear Independent put out a video on Survival Dispatch a year or so ago, and it was discussed how much ammo do you really need. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, I love his videos, I love his stuff, I love what he's all about, I love his philosophy on life and all of the amazing things that he does for his community and the outreach that he does. I think it's great. But the number that he put out there for how much ammo you actually need, I thought was just crazy high for me personally, and I think it's too high for a lot of people if we're being realistic. A lot of people don't have that much money. A lot of people don't have that much time to invest into live fire training. A lot of people don't have access to locations where they can easily go do live fire training. So for me, that makes the dry fire training so much more important because it costs you nothing. It's just a little bit of time, and you can literally do it in your bedroom as long as you make sure everything's cleared and safe and you're still abiding by all of the gun safety rules. I think you could do it safely in wherever you are. You don't need to go to the range. So like I said before, I don't do any live fire training in between kind of big events, and every so often we'll have a friendly competition here. And the most recent one that we did, I did pretty well. I happened to win the competition because of the dry fire training that I've done. It's not because that I'm superior or I'm more highly skilled or anything like that. It's because I put the time in and I put the effort into the dry fire training, and it really showed on the live range. So how much ammo do you really need? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I know that there's no such thing as too much. How about that? There's no such thing as too much. Get as much as you can. Get all of it, if possible. But I do know that you can train. You can put in a lot of time, a lot of effort into dry fire training, and it really, really makes a big difference in your marksmanship.